What's going on, my babies? Welcome back to another episode of the Spiritual Word. As always, I apologize for any noises in the background in advance and anything of that nature. And before I start these, I like to start these off with a disclaimer by stating that these are for entertainment purposes only. Always do your own research to come to your own conclusions, to make your own decisions, to have your own answers, and I believe in your ability to do so and to be your own person. And before I start, I have an audio version of the podcast anywhere you can find podcasts, and have a video version of the podcast on YouTube. They're both named The Spiritual Word. I'm your host, Jackie. I upload Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Mountain Time. And if science, psychology, spirituality, self-help, and philosophy are things you're interested in, then I recommend subbing or following whatever platform you're finding me on, as those are my main 5 topics. Sometimes I go off and I'll be talking about random shit, but for the most part, those are my main topics. So if you're returning, baby, you already know what's going on, and if you're new, thanks for tuning in and tapping in. I appreciate you for being here. As my returning babies already know, one, I call you guys my babies because I find that to be an endearing term, and I want this to be a place where you feel safe. And anyways, besides that, so we're gonna go into the next chapter of the book that I'm currently reading, which is Start Where You Are by Pema Chodron. And I feel like I should give background on who she is. She is a Buddhist writer. I don't know exactly, I don't know a lot about her, but I know that she is a Buddhist and that she writes a lot of books on her philosophy, and they help a lot of people. And so I figured I got gifted this book by one of my friends who is a Buddhist / my spiritual mentor, because I love her and everything that she stands for. So besides that, we're getting into chapter 4, which the title of this chapter is Let the World Speak for Itself. So I want to see how many pages this is before I get into this. It's only 6 pages. Okay, hopefully this won't be an hour, but with me and the way that I read, it might be an hour, so we'll see. Let's get right into this. The last of the absolute bodhicitta slogans is in post meditation. Be a child of illusion. The slogan says that when you are not formally practicing meditation, which is basically the whole rest of your life, you should be a child of illusion. This is a haunting and poetic image, not all that is easy to define. The way that it's phrased tends to encourage you to not define it. The idea is that your experience after you finish sitting practice. Hold on. The idea is that your experience after you finish sitting practice could be a fresh take on an encouraging and outgoing opportunity to let go and lighten up. This slogan has a lot to do with looking out and connecting with the atmosphere, with the environment that you're in, the quality of your experience. You realize that it's not all that solid. There's always something happening, and that you can't pin it down with words or thoughts. This is like the first day of spring. There's a special quality about that day. It is what it is, no matter what opinion you may have of it. When we study Buddhism, we learn about the view and the meditation as supports for encouraging us to let go of ego and just to be with things as they are. The absolute bodhicitta slogan present the view. In post-meditation, be the child of illusion, or regardless of all dharma, regard all dharmas as a dream. For example, our Pithi, Pithy, reminders of all that is underlying. Are reminders of an underlying way of looking at the world. You don't exactly have to grasp this view, but the point is but it's pointing you in a certain direction. The suggestion that you view the world in this way as less than solid sows seeds and wake up with a certain aspect of your being. Both views as meditation Both the view and meditation are great supports. They give you something to hold on to, even though all techniques are about not holding on to anything. We don't just talk. We actually get down to it. This is a practice. This, that, the practice of meditation. You can talk about lining up until you're purple in the face. But when you have an opportunity to practice lining up with the out breath, lining up, and with a labeling, you actually practice the method that you're given. A discipline. I am so sorry. Anyways, the view and the meditation are encouragements to relax enough so that finally the atmosphere of your experience just begins to come to you. It's how things really can't be taught. No one can give you a formula A plus B plus C equals enlightenment. These supports are often like a raft. You need the raft to cross the river to get to the other side. And when you do get over there, you leave the raft behind. It's an interesting image, but an experience. But in the experience, it's more like the raft gives out on you in the middle of the river, and you never really got solid ground. This is what it means to become a child of illusion. The child of illusion image seems apt because young children seem to live in a world which things are not solid. They see a sense of wonder in all young children, which they later lose. This slogan encourages us to be that way again. I read a book called The Holographic Universe, which is about science making the same discovery that we have made in sitting meditation. That's so crazy. I was going to read that one too. The room that we sit in is a very solid, very vivid. It would be ridiculous to say that it isn't there, that it wasn't there. But what science is finding out is that the material world isn't as solid as it seems. It's more like a hologram, vivid, empty at the same time. In fact, the more you realize the lack of solidity in things, the more vivid they appear. Sorry, I got itchy. Trungpa Rinpoche. I'm sorry. Anyways, expresses that this paradox in poetry and haunting language. Expresses this paradox in a poetic and haunting language. To paraphrase, everything you see is vividly unreal and emptiness. Yet there's a definite form. What you see is not there. It's not here. It's both and neither. Everything you hear is an echo of emptiness. Yet there's sound to it. It's real. The echo of emptiness. Huh? Hold on, I need to reread that because I can't. Yet, okay. It's both and neither. Everything you hear is the echo of emptiness. Yet there is a sound. It's real. The echo of emptiness. Then Rinpoche goes on to say, good and bad, happy and sad, all thoughts vanish into emptiness like an imprint of a bird in the sky. That was deep. Anyways, As this is as close as you can come to describing what it means to be a child of illusion. The key point is that good and bad, happy and sad, can be allowed to dissolve into emptiness like an imprint of a bird in the sky. The practice of the view are supports, but the real thing is the experience of sounds being an echo of emptiness, or everything you see being vividly unreal and dawns on you, like waking out of an ancient sleep. There is no way you can force it or fake it. The view and the the practice are to be experienced with light, with a light touch, not to be taken as dogma. We still have to listen to these slogans, chew on them, wonder about them. We have to find out for ourselves what they could mean. They are like challenges rather than statements of fact. If we let them, they will lead us towards the fact that facts themselves are dubious, Dubious. I don't know, dubious, dubious. I don't know. We can be a child of illusion through our waking lives and sleep existence. Through our birth and our death, we can continually remain as a child of illusion. Being a child of illusion also has to do with the beginning to encourage ourselves to not be a walking battleground. We have such strong feelings for good and bad, wrong and right. We also lose parts of ourselves. We also feel parts of ourselves are good and bad, and parts of ourselves are good and wholesome. All of the pairs of opposites, happy, sad, victory, defeat, loss, gain, are at war with each other. The truth is that good and bad coexist, sweet and sour coexist. They aren't really opposed to each other. We could start by opening our eyes and hearts in a deep way of perceiving, like moving into a whole new dimension of experience, becoming the child of illusion. Maybe you heard that the Buddha is not out there. The Buddha is within. The Buddha within is not good. The Buddha within is good. Is bad and good coexisting. Evil and purity coexisting. The Buddha within is not all nice stuff. The Buddha within is messy as well as clean. The Buddha within is really good. Is really sordid as well as wholesome, yucky, smelly, repulsive, as well as the opposite. They coexist. This view is not easy to grasp, but it's helpful to hear. At the everyday kitchen sink level, it simply means that as you see things in yourself, the things that you think are terrible, not worthy, maybe you could reflect that's the Buddha. That's the Buddha. You're proud of yourself because you are that. You are proud of yourself because you just had a good meditation or because you had such saintly thoughts. That's Buddha too. When we get to the Toglen practice, you'll see just how interesting this logic is. Toglen is as well as basic practice leads towards realizing the opposite coexists. They aren't at war with each other. In meditation practice, we struggle a lot with getting rid of certain things while other things come to the front in order for the world to speak for itself. In meditation practice, we struggle a lot with trying to get rid of certain things while other things come to the front in order for the world to speak for itself. we first have to see how hard we struggle. And then we could begin to open our hearts and minds to the fact. The view and meditation are meant to support and soften more gentle approach for the whole show, for the whole cat catastrophe. Anyway, we begin to let opposites coexist, not trying to get rid of them or anything, but just trained and open our eyes, ears, nostrils, taste buds, heart, mind wider and wider, nurturing the habits of opening to whatever is occurring, including our shutting down. We generally interpret the world as heavy. Sorry. We generally interpret the world as so heavily in terms of good and bad, happy, sad, nice, not nice. The world does not get a chance to speak for itself. When we say be a child of illusion, we're beginning to get a fresh look at when we're not caught up in hope and fear, when we become mindful, wake, gentle, with our hope and fear. We see them clearly with less of a bias, less judgment, less of a sense of heavy trip. When this happens, the world speaks for itself. I heard a story about Rinpoche sitting in a garden with his holiness, Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche. People were standing around at a distance, close enough to hear but far enough to give them privacy and space. It was a beautiful day. These two gentlemen had been sitting at the garden for some time, just sitting there, not saying anything. As time went on, they just sat in the garden, didn't say anything, and seemed to enjoy it very much. Then Trungpa Rinpoche broke the silence and began to laugh, and pointing across, and he said, Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche, pointing across the lawn. They called that a tree. Whereupon Khyentse Rinpoche started to laugh too. They had been there. I think we might have had a little transmission of what it means to be a child of illusion. We can practice this in the way of post-meditation. Now and for the rest of our lives. Whatever we're doing, whether we're having tea or working, we could do that completely. We could be wherever we are completely, 100%. Take the whole tea time just to drink your tea. I started doing this in the airport. Instead of reading, I'd sit there and look at everything and appreciate it. Even if you don't feel appreciation, just look. Feel what you feel, take an interest, and be curious. Write less, don't try to capture it all on paper. Sometimes writing instead of being a fresh take. Sometimes writing instead of being fresh take. This is like trying to catch something and nail it down. This capturing blinds us. There is no fresh look, no wide open-eyed, no curiosity. When we are not trying to capture anything, we become a child of illusion. In the morning, you feel one way. In the afternoon, it can seem as though years have passed. It is astounding how it all just keeps moving. Sorry. When you write down on paper, you say, I'm feeling crummy. But time But by the time the person gets the letter, it has changed. Have you ever gotten back an answer to one of your letters, then thought, what are they talking about? You don't remember this forgotten identity, this long forgotten identity you sent in the mail? There was a Native American man called Ishi, 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 which in his language meant person or human being. He was a good example of what it meant to be a child of illusion. Ishi lived in Northern California at the beginning of the century. Everyone in his whole tribe had been methodically killed, hunted down like coyotes and wolves. Ishi was the only one left. He had lived alone for a long time. No one knew exactly why, but one day he just appeared in Oroville, California, at dawn. He stood, this naked man. They quickly put some clothes on him and put him in jail. The Bureau of until the Bureau of Indian Affairs told them what to do with him. In the front page news of the San Francisco newspapers were an anthropologist named Alfred Curo Bird reading the story. Here was this anthropologist's dream come true. This native person had been living in the wild all his life and could reveal his tribe's way of life. Ishi was brought on the train down San Francisco in total unknowing into a totally unknown world. Sorry, where was I? He lived pretty happily, it appears, for the rest of his life. Ishi seemed to be fully awake when he was completely at home with himself and the world, even when it was changed so dramatically, almost overnight. For instance, they told him that they took him to San Francisco. He happily wore a suit and tie they gave him, but he carried his shoes in his hands until he wanted to feel. And sorry, he carried his shoes in his hands because he still wanted to feel the earth within his feet. He had been living like a caveman, as a caveman might, always having to remain hidden from fear of being killed. But as soon as he arrived to the city, they took him to a formal dinner party. He sat there, unperturbed, an unfamiliar ritual, just observing, and then ate the way that everyone else did. He was in full wonder, complete curiosity about everything, and just seemingly not afraid or resentful, just totally open. When Ishi was first taken to San Francisco, he went to the Oval train station and stood on the platform. When the train came, without anyone noticing, he simply walked away very quietly and stood behind a pillar. Then the others noticed and beckoned to him, and they told him to get on the train to San Francisco. Later, Ishi told Crow Ebert, I don't know how to say that scientist's name, but that anthropologist's name, that for his whole life, when he and the other members of his tribe had seen the train, they had thought it was a demon that ate people because of how this how it snaked along and bewowed, be load. Hi. Be load. Oh, be load. I don't know how to say that. Bellow. Be loud. Smoke and fire. Bellowed. When Gilbert heard that, he was awestruck. He asked, "How did you how did you have the courage to just get on the train if you thought it was a demon?" Then Ishi said quite simply, "Well, my life has taught me to be more curious than afraid. His life has taught him what it has meant to be a child of illusion." That was chapter 4. Let the world speak for itself. Let the world speak for itself. So, with that being said, thanks for tuning in and tapping in. As always, you know that I love you guys, and I appreciate you guys for being here. And I'm gonna end this here, and we'll get into chapter 5 tomorrow. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.